Under President Donald Trump's administration, the United States saw several strict immigration policies that created a lot of uncertainty and fear, specifically among immigrant families. One of the major changes was the decision to end 2011 rule that prevented federal immigration agencies from making arrests at sensitive locations like schools, hospitals, and churches. Now, this reversal in policy allowed immigration officials to carry out arrests in these places, sparking fear among immigrant families, particularly those with children in the school. Now, Trump's tough stance on immigration was part of his broader agenda to reduce illegal immigration and enforce stricter border control. He often stated that he aimed to deport millions of people who were living in the United States illegally. Now, the move to allow arrests in sensitive locations was a direct reflection of his tough stance. For immigrant families, this meant a new level of fear that their children could be at risk while attending school, a place that they consider a really safe one. Schools, after all, provide not just education but also essential services like meal, counseling, and mental health support, specifically for children from low-income immigrant families. In response to the growing concern, some school districts across the United States took steps to reassure families that their children were still safe at their school. Let me give you an example here. In states like California and New York, educational authorities reminded parents that schools were not allowed to collect information about students' immigration status, and state law protected immigrant students from being questioned by the immigration authority. Some districts, like those in Chicago, went a step forward by declaring that they would not cooperate with immigration and custom enforcement, ICE we call it, and it would require federal agents to present a valid court order before entering any school premises. However, again, not all schools offered those reassurances, and in some areas, schools are already noticing the impact of the new policy. In Georgia, for example, even families who had legal status in the United States began to feel intimidated by the possibility of deportation. Now, this fear led to absenteeism, with some children staying at home for school, worried that their families would be targeted by the immigration agent. Now, the change in policy was not just about deporting individuals. It also reflected a broader push by the Trump administration to make life so difficult for immigrants that they have to leave the country on their own. Even families who were legally residing in the United States felt the weight of this policy shift. For many, the question was whether they should continue sending their children to school, as it was no longer seen as a completely safe environment. The debate surrounding Trump's immigration policy was highly divisive. Some Americans supported his stance, arguing that tough measures were necessary to control illegal immigration. But again, civil rights groups, educators, and immigrant advocacy organizations criticized these policies, saying that they created a climate of fear and uncertainty for vulnerable communities, particularly for the children. A survey by the Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs Research revealed that most Americans did not support the idea of arresting the children at school simply because they were in the country illegally. Now, this ongoing debate about immigration and its consequences is not limited to the United States. Similar issues are discussed globally, and countries like India are also affected by these policies, particularly in relation to the Indian diaspora. India has a large and growing population of migrant workers and students abroad, specifically in countries like the United States and the United Kingdom. Policies like Trump's not only impact the Indian immigrants in the United States, but it also creates a ripple effect back home, causing uncertainty for families who are worried about their loved ones who are living in the country. For many Indian families in the United States, the fear of deportation and separation from their families due to immigration policy has been an ongoing source of anxiety. In India, these issues are often discussed in the context of the treatment of migrant workers in foreign countries, the challenges faced by Indian students abroad, and the shifting attitude towards immigrants. Now, this can have a significant impact on the global Indian community, as immigration policy in one country can actually affect many others. So basically, in the end, Trump's discussion to end the policy protecting sensitive location from immigration enforcement created a widespread anxiety among immigrant families in the United States. While some states and school districts have really worked hard to reassure families, the overall atmosphere of fear and uncertainty has left many parents questioning whether it is still safe to send their children to school or not. The long-term impact of these policies on immigrant communities in the United States and around the world, including those in India, will continue to be a topic of debate and concern for the future of these people. The situation reflects a growing global conversation about immigration and the treatment of migrant families, specifically those in vulnerable situations.